There's been a fire at the residence. This housing unit that they had us staying in, there's been a fire in the baby's room. The focus ends up being on how it looks instead of how it feels. We had to leave our baby.
Hello, detectives. A poll I ran a few weeks ago showed that lots of subscribers want me to investigate Meghan Markle. So in today's video, let's look at a story she told on her podcast to see if she made it up. If this is your first time here, I'm the Deception Detective. I'm an attorney who has been trained in statement analysis, and this channel is all about teaching you how to spot liars. Without further ado, let's listen.
When we went on our tour to South Africa, we landed with Archie. Archie was, 4.5 months old? And the moment we landed, we had to drop him off at this housing unit that they had us staying in.
As we keep listening, we'll see that Meghan lies for a different reason than the other people we've seen on this channel. She doesn't lie to hide something like the fact that she takes steroids or cheats at video games. She lies to get what she wants. Specifically, she wants people to see her as a victim. For example, Meghan called the place where she was staying in South Africa a housing unit. What image does that make you think of? An urban apartment building, a modest guest house, or Rideau Gate, the mansion where she actually stayed. If you were like me, you probably thought of an apartment building or a small guest house, not a mansion. Meghan meant for that to happen. As we go on, pay attention to what she tells us and what she doesn't tell us.
He was going to get ready to go down for his nap. We immediately went to
an official engagement in this township called Nyanga.
And there was this moment where I'm standing on a tree stump and I'm giving this speech to women and girls, and we finish the engagement. We get in the car and they say, "There's been a fire at the residence." What? There's been a fire in the baby's room.
People don't like to lie or make stuff up, as I've said time and time again in my videos. People who aren't being honest often choose their words very carefully to avoid technically lying. For example, when Meghan said housing unit to describe a mansion. But the most common way people deceive is by leaving things out. Meghan told us that someone told her about a fire. They say there's been a fire at the residence. Then she stopped telling us who was speaking. She wants us to think that she said what? And the person who told her about the fire said, "There's been a fire in the baby's room." But she never assigned those words to anyone, so we cannot assume that that part of the conversation ever happened. It may seem like a big leap, but it's statement analysis 101. When something is missing, 99% of the time, it's because the speaker is being deceptive. If we go by Meghan's own words, all she said was that someone told her there was a fire at the residence. The fire could have started in any part of the residence, been any size, and started at any time in history. In fact, she could have just been repeating what a tour guide told her, since the mansion did in fact have a fire in 1999. Unless Meghan directly tells us that someone told her the fire just happened, or the fire happened in Archie's room, we cannot assume either of these things.
Stop. God, I can't believe we haven't talked about this.
No.
And so we're in the car. We had just landed at an hour or 2 hours before, racing back. We get back, our amazing nanny Lauren, who we'd had all the way until in Canada here. Lauren in floods of tears. She was supposed to put Archie down for his nap.
If you've seen enough of my videos, you'll know that everyone has their own unique way to avoid directly lying. For Liver King, it's hedging language. For Nadia, it's time skipping. For Z-Laner, it's word restriction. For Matt Does Fitness, it's time restriction. And for Meghan, it seems to be missing words. Meghan said, "We get back, our amazing nanny Lauren, yada yada yada, Lauren in floods of tears." The word was is missing. Why? Because Meghan is probably making this up, and she can't bring herself to use the word was because she knows this never happened. She wants us to think Lauren was crying so that we'll feel sorry for her and picture the fire being more serious than it was. But she didn't actually ever say Lauren was crying or that they found Lauren in floods of tears. In statement analysis, we have to stick to what the subject says. Meghan hasn't told us that Lauren was crying or that there was even a fire. I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you want more content like this, please hit the subscribe button. I upload every week and only cover the most interesting people, topics, and current events. If you're already subscribed, thank you. Drop a comment below and let me know who you'd like me to analyze next.
Supposed to put Archie down for his nap, and she just said, "You know what? let me just go and get a snack downstairs. And Lauren's from Zimbabwe, and we loved that she would always tie him on her back with a mud cloth. And her instinct was like, let me just bring him with me before I put him down. In that amount of time that she went downstairs, the heater in the nursery caught on fire. There was no smoke detector. Someone happened to just smell smoke down the hallway, went in, fire extinguished. He was supposed to be sleeping in there.
As I've already said, people don't tell as many outright lies as you might expect. Most deceptive statements are a mix of truth and missing information. This is no different. The heater in the nursery room probably had a fire in it. I'll even accept that there was no smoke alarm in the room, even though that seems highly unlikely. And I'll even agree that someone smelled smoke and walked into the room. But the deception is in what's missing. Megan wants us to picture the person who went into the room putting out the fire, but she didn't say that's what happened. She said someone happened to just smell smoke down the hallway, went in, fire extinguished. Why is the end of that sentence missing so many words? She does a great job of describing how the person smelled the smoke and went into the room, but as soon as she says the person went into the room, her grammar falls apart. Why didn't she say he went in and extinguished the fire? Why just fire extinguished? I think it's either because there was no fire, just smoke, perhaps from a dusty space heater that hadn't been used in a while, or because the fire was small enough to extinguish itself on its own. The more important question is, why did Megan want us to think that someone went into the room to put out the fire? She wants us to picture what happened in a more dramatic way and feel sorry for her. As you'll soon see, she actually tells us that's exactly what she's doing later in this statement.
And we came back, and of course, as a mother, you go, oh my God, everyone's in tears, everyone's shaken. And what did we have to do? Go out and do another official engagement.
Every word in statement analysis means something. There are no similar words. For example, if someone says, I have to walk my dog, we know they don't necessarily want to walk their dog. When Megan said, what do we have to do? Go out and do another official engagement, she's telling us she didn't want to do the engagement. She is trying to portray herself as a victim of circumstance. Of course, it doesn't work on most people because most people know these engagements are totally voluntary. She's a princess. There's nothing she has to do. Again, she is trying to change how we picture the story so that it suits her needs. And in this next part, she actually tells us that's what she's doing. Listen closely.
Listen, this doesn't make any sense. Can you just...
Why did you not bring him?
I was like, can you just tell people what happened? And so much, I think, optically, the focus ends up being on how it looks instead of how it feels.
This is concerning, and I'll explain why. Here, Megan is telling the audience that how something feels is more important than how it looks. I think this is how she tells herself it's okay to lie, and she's asking the audience to do the same. Even though the fire in Archie's room probably looked like nothing, or maybe nothing more than a puff of smoke, it felt like a lot more. Whenever someone asks you to overlook their lie or put their feelings ahead of the facts, they are going beyond lying. They are being manipulative. And that puts Meghan Markle in the same category as Amber Heard or Jussie Smollett.
And part of the humanizing and the breaking through of these labels and these archetypes and these boxes that we're put into is having some understanding on the human moments behind the scenes that people might not have any awareness of, and to give each other a break, because we did. We had to leave our baby.
Statement analysis can help you figure out if Meghan's story is true or not in one more way. We can look at how the story is broken down. How long does she talk about the event itself? What happened before it? What happened after it? Studies show that fake stories have shorter endings, and this is because liars don't care if the story they made up has a good ending or not. They will only tell you what happened, how it happened, but they don't really care much about what happened after that. Meghan's story about the fire doesn't really have much of a conclusion. She supposedly comes back, sees Lauren crying, and leaves again. Did anyone call the police, the fire brigade? Did she thank the person who discovered the smoke? Did any of Archie's stuff get burned up? Did they have to wash his favorite blankie with baking soda to get the smoke smell out? Nothing. This is typical of stories that are made up. Meghan's goal was to make herself look like a victim, a woman forced by duty to leave her baby in a dangerous African housing unit, and she didn't bother to make up anything beyond that. It's textbook.
And even though we were being moved into another place afterwards,
we still had to leave him and go and do another official engagement.
I'll end with this point. People don't lie as much as you might expect. Most of the time, if they want to trick you, they will just leave stuff out. Most statements are a mix of truth and missing information. So a lot of what Megan said in this video could be true, but I know she's left things out based on her language. Specifically, she left out context. I don't think there were ever any open flames. I think there was smoke, perhaps coming from a heater that hadn't been turned on in a while, and I think Megan saw this as an opportunity to paint herself as a victim. If you like this video, check out my video on Nadia, link in the description. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and comment for the algorithm. Until next time, stay true.